Welcome to the 7th video in this AutoCAD training series. In this video, we will cover section 1.2.1 in the written material. If you have not completed this section of the written material, please go do so now. How do you create 3D geometry? The first way to do it is by taking 2D geometry and then using the extrude command. EXT, enter, or clicking on extrude on the modify toolbar. So just select the object you want to extrude, hit enter, and then you can hold down shift and use the mouse wheel to rotate, and then you can define the height. There you go. You now have a 3D object. However, this 3D object does not look like a 3D object. I mean, yeah, there's lines going down and all that, but couldn't we have just drawn that using 2D geometry? Well, it's not just that. In fact, if you look at the Properties palette, select the object, it'll call this a 3D solid. If you want to change how an object looks, you should change what visual style it's in, using the Visual Style toolbar. Right now, your AutoCAD is probably set to using 2D wireframe. Some of the other more common ones are 3D wireframe, which you may notice that there's not much of a difference. When you're using some 3D commands, it won't act right using 2D wireframe, so you have to use 3D wireframe. But if you want to make it look better, click on Realistic or Conceptual. Let's use Realistic for now. So now you can see that this object is quite different than its 2D counterpart. Now there are two different types of 3D objects. There's a 3D solid, like what we have right here, and then there are surfaces. Surfaces are just 2D objects, or 2D planes, that line up to form a 3D object. Let me show you. If you were to use lines to draw the shape, and then use the extrude command, select the lines, and extrude the lines, you'll see that the object appears to be hollow, and that each side is independent. These are surfaces. It's important to note that surfaces can also be formed by exploding a 3D object. Now, sometimes surfaces are great. However, most of the time we want 3D solids. So make sure that you're using a closed profile, such as a rectangle, a circle, or polylines. Now, when you're using polylines, make sure that it is a complete section. For instance, you start drawing a polyline here, but you don't connect the 2 points, still one object, and when you extrude it, it will still only form a surface. The reason is because when you're using a polyline, you need to create a closed loop. And there you have it. A 3D solid. Now, there are other ways to move around AutoCAD, to kind of navigate around in 3D space. What we were actually using earlier when we held down the Shift key and the mouse wheel is called the Orbit command. You can access this command by typing orbit. However, if you're inside another command, holding Shift and then holding down the mouse wheel is the better way to do it. You may find yourself sometimes needing to change the UCS or change the active plane that you're working in, especially when you're drawing 2D geometry. To do that, you can change using these views on the side. You select Top View, you now are looking at the top. You have bottom, left, right, front, and back. And then you have the 4 isometric views. Now, you may ask, why can't we just use the view cube? Well, when you're using the view cube, it just rotates. It's like using the orbit command. It's very good for snapping to an orthographic view, just like I did here. However, it does not change the UCS. You may be asking, well, what's the advantage of changing the UCS? Well, sometimes there is no advantage to changing the UCS. In that case, you can use the view cube if you want, or the orbit command. However, let's say that we wanted to draw geometry on a side face and it wouldn't allow us to. We want to draw a circle. Well, you can only draw a circle right there. Well, that's not going to work. So let's change to top view. Clone circle again. And there you go. There are 2 more types of commands that are similar to the extrude command, however, have different functions. The first is revolve. So let's say that you have this geometry, such as, I don't know, this triangle. But you want to make it into like a semicircle or even a full circle or whatever. Well, to do that, you draw the geometry and make sure you turn it into a closed loop, which can also be done using the region command. Then type REV for revolve, or click on the revolve icon on the toolbar. Select the object, enter, and then select a start point. So you want a start point here. Then to define the axis, it's the axis of rotation. So let's say I wanted to rotate about there. Well, you can't rotate the object that way in the current view. That's because of the way that the UCS is set. You can only rotate in the plane that your current UCS is set to. There you go. Now you can select how many degrees you want to revolve it. If you want to revolve it 360, you just type 360. If you only want 180, type 180. And there you go. You've now revolved that object, that profile, making this current 3D solid object. The last command is the Loft command. The Loft command is used for taking 2 closed profiles and using them as boundaries to create an object. So let's say you wanted these two profiles, the circle and the rectangle, to become an object. Well, then you're going to need to use the Loft command, which you can type Loft or click on the Loft icon on the toolbar. Then you just select the two cross sections, hit enter, and then there are other options such as guides and paths, which you can use for more complicated objects. Then hit enter again, and there you go. You have now lofted the rectangle into the circle. Just as a little tip for drawing certain objects, especially when you're revolving them, sometimes it is better to only draw half of the object. For instance, if we wanted to draw this, say we wanted to draw a triangle and make that into a cone. Well, it may be better to only draw half of the object like this, and then revolve that object. Then if you wanted to make a full cone, type 360, and there you go. You now have created a 3D cone. You are now ready to complete exercise 1.2.1. When you've completed that, go and read the next section in the written material. See you then.